What's up, RSL Nation? It's your boys Adele and
Baker.
How you doing, Baker?
I'm good. I'm real good. We got a real special one today.
Oh, a super special one today.
It doesn't get much better than this.
It's one of those. It's one of those. Every page and every group seems to have this like know thy enemy.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we mentioned like the know thy enemy thing years ago, and we're like, you know what? That's stupid. Let's not do that. That's too biblical, too weird.
Hey, it is Utah.
We are Utah, yes.
The land of the saints. Tell the people why it's a special one.
Well, the reason it's a special one is because this weekend we have coming up a match at Cincinnati.
We do.
Cincinnati, as you will know, and we can talk about in a minute here, I've been advocating for Cincinnati to be the next MLS team for years. Right up there with the Tampas. Mm-hmm. And the Sacramento, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sacramento. Definitely well before the Miamis of the world and NYCFCs of the world. But the reason it's a special one today is because on the line with us, we have Brian.
And what does Brian do?
Brian, amongst other things that we might learn about Brian as we talk today, is a member of, well, Brian, why don't you tell us, what are you a member of? Cincy Soccer Talk?
Yeah, Cincy Soccer Talk. We're a podcast, live radio show, I guess you could say. It's covered FC Cincinnati, going on season 4. You know, that sounds like a short time compared to all you RSL faithful out there, but I'll tell you what, man, it's been one heck of a 4-year journey to get to this point. It's been magical, I guess you could say, just to kind of see where we started out. But yeah, we covered the team. I guess we're now up to a staff of I think like 16 bloggers, journalists, podcasters. Yeah, we have 2 live shows. We do videos. It's an amazing place where, you know, kind of where we started and to where we are now. We started as 4 guys that just kind of happened upon each other on Twitter or Facebook one night and started a podcast. And now thousands of FC Cincinnatians and it's been a hell of a heck of a run over the past couple of years. So yeah, it's kind of tough to really dive down to what we always get into, but yeah, it's just been one heck of a journey to where we're at.
So if I may, before we carry on, Brian is just showing us off here.
They do it real proper.
It's the LAFC, the Cincinnati, the what's gonna be Miami. You know, like, hey, brand new club. You know what we're gonna start with? Is a 25-person brand new stadium. The Borussia Dortmunds of the world. Oh, and by the way, our podcast is going to have 18 people, right? And it's going to have 17 professional microphones, and we're going to have 2 live shows.
Oh, man.
We struggle mostly because we get too drunk at the game, so I have a post-game show on most days.
So I have a great story about getting too drunk at a preseason game as to why I'm not allowed around the club as much anymore, but we can get to that at another time.
You want to hear that one?
Oh, yeah. We had a good time. Me and Coach Koch got into it a little bit on social media, which was not one of my finer points, but no, I love this club. It started out as Cincy Soccer Talk started out just as had 4 guys getting in together over just Skype, and as I'm sure you've seen, the following in Cincinnati is just tremendous, and it's allowed us to expand and get into so many opportunities to cover the club. We all have full-time jobs, so this is kind of our nights and weekends kind of deal. But it's just been incredible. You're talking about making people feel bad. The only people we ever really in this world try to make feel bad are Louisville City FC supporters because they're, the scum of the earth. But other than that, no, I'm joking. It's all right. That's kind of our USL love there. But no, it's just been a heck of a ride, man.
Nothing wrong with that. I got in trouble on Twitter today. Who was it that kicked that Kansas City?
Taku.
Yeah.
You can't be saying stuff like that, man.
Oh, you saw it, huh?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know the rest of the story.
Yeah, guy went to the hospital.
I didn't
proper
know that.
concussion protocol. Face is all busted. He's definitely gonna sue.
Oh, you're talking about the guy that got kicked in the face?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're not the biggest fans of Kansas City.
Yeah.
Right, and I think to be clear, just to elaborate a little, we don't want to wish ill will on anyone.
Right.
If it has to happen, like if it's like this is going down no matter what.
Don't say ill will. All right. All I'm saying, okay, here's this. We don't want to wish ill will on anyone. Period. Right? And then we start the next paragraph. But
That's what I was doing, yeah.
if somebody has to get kicked in the face
and not sent to the hospital, I didn't realize he had
but that
shopping guy.
I would figure that would be covered in the previous paragraph.
They didn't enter that on. I also did not know it was as bad as it was.
Right.
I think we're being distracted a little.
Right. All right.
Hey, it's all right. I get what you mean there. Rivalries and frenemies, I guess y'all could say that. But it's nice to have some of those. You know, we carry ours over a little bit from our USL days, and I'm sure we'll get something going on here in August with Columbus Crew SC, the second best soccer club in Ohio. But yeah, we'll figure that out.
Ooh. All right, so let's get right into that, man. So, we're going to talk about the game a little bit. But let's not pretend he and I, all right, we're soccer fanatics our whole life, season ticket holders, all these different things. We have a microphone and a computer and a camera, so we do a thing on the internet here. But we're no experts.
Not even close.
But what we are experts in is what we call the scarf life. Right?
Okay.
Which is the supporters culture.
Right.
Right.
Sure.
So let's ask you about that, because I have been a Cincy fan for a while.
I mean, since what was it, like 2016?
Yeah, like whatever. The reason being that I saw the atmosphere, because it was a big deal when it came around, and it just seemed like a natural fit. I just hate, and look, don't get me wrong, 2005, which is almost 24 years ago.
Right.
RSL was one of those clubs that just started out of nowhere.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I think the league was also desperate at that point. They needed more teams. I think the league is in a point now where there are multiple cities. There's a dozen cities competing over any given spot. And I hate to see the likes of Miami or even NYCFC in a city where there's a club called the Cosmos.
Yeah.
They've been around for decades and they invent a new club. Right. So I love seeing something like Cincinnati, where it started from scratch, and it picked up quickly,
right?
But it still seemed natural. Tell us a little bit about what it was like on your side.
So, no one ever expected us to be here 4 years ago. I mean, yeah, we talked about we want to be in MLS, but in reality, we were always, when they always did the 4 expansion city power 10 or whatever rankings, we were always like 5th or 6th. We were always like, okay, but Tampa Bay has this, and Sacramento has been here forever. So basically how our supporters, when it really started to morph into, I would say kind of our second season is when it started going into Major League Soccer, things changed a little bit. So I'll address that here in a minute. But with FC Cincinnati, it was just, we show up to like our first preseason game at Xavier, and it was like 700 fans, and we're kind of like, is this really going to work? Because we didn't have any chance. We weren't organized, and I think it kind of woke everybody up a little bit. A couple weeks, and we go into that first regular season game versus Charlotte, and we had 14,000 fans. We're like, this is amazing. It might be shot in the dark, but let's just everybody who's there in the supporters groups, let's just go out and go grab a buddy and grow the club. So this is the town of Peter Edward Rose. This is the town of the Bengals, the Reds. So to kind of get into this movement, we basically it was just bring everybody you can. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with, hey, but let's come to the game. Well, I don't know shit about soccer. Do you like beer? Oh, I love beer. Then you'll like soccer. Okay. Come to Mecklenburg Gardens or the pubs around the University of Cincinnati campus where we have our games at Nippert Stadium, and just experience it. So you go from 14,000, and we bring the next game, we got 18,000, and then it goes to 20,000. And it's just this snowballing effect where it's infectious, where you come down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours before the games, you go to the pub. We don't have tailgating around the stadium. There's just no room for it. So it's all a pub atmosphere. So there's 25 bars around, college bars. They're just packed to the gills with orange and blue fans, and it's infectious, and you start to make new friends. And all of a sudden, we have that Crystal Palace game, 35,000 fans. And it's just like, holy crap, we've arrived. But we still got to keep progressing with this. And so we start to get more organized. Year 2, we kind of start stiffing the MLS thing. So our supporters groups, Die Innenstadt, the Pride, they really start to kind of get into, hey, what do we need to do to maintain this? And what do we got to do to keep growing? It's not like, let's not be the exclusive bunch like, hey, you're not trying hard enough, or you're not waving your flags, or you're not doing this. No, screw that. Let's get everybody in here. Let's throw a scarf around their neck, and let's keep getting them to come to games. And it's just kind of snowballed into that effect with how, it's just, as I said, infectious. And it's gotten to the point where now we're averaging 25,000 fans a game. But it's not just about, hey, we got 25,000 fans there. No, we want 3,000 fans chanting in the Bailey. We want the other 20 plus thousand fans around, being involved and getting just getting into the game and having that great environment. So just that for there, it's been amazing. On the other side with the club, we have a great FO that has always, from day one, always done the smart little things right. Whether it was John Harkes going to pubs every Saturday and Sunday morning to watch EPL games, to get those people to come out. John Harkes, will pardon his sins later, but he was instrumental in getting the club off the ground day one. Then Jeff Birding, our GM.
I have no idea who John Harkes is. So
John Harkes, he was our first head coach of FC Cincinnati. He was, how do I say this? He was called Captain America by Steve Sampson, captain of the U.S. men's national team legend back 1990, should have been 94 or whatever that was, when they didn't host the wherever the World Cups were. So he was our first head coach. He got booted out, but just literally the day before they go to Florida camp in season 2. But back to kind of the growth, the FO has always engaged the supporters, always had the supporters council before it was cool, before the LAFC documentary, seeing, this is how you're supported. No, FC Cincinnati started that, so.
Oh, hold on. Take it back.
Oh, sorry. Recently.
Just throw some shade at LAFC. There's some good friends in LA.
They're amazing. We just played them this weekend. That was an amazing atmosphere. But it's all these little things that you've kind of seen happen over the past couple of years. We had that great U.S. Open Cup run in season 2 where we knock off the Crew, we knock off the Fire, we take New York Red Bulls to extra time, and BWP does his magic. But it's all these little things that just kind of snowball and make the club a special place. I don't know if you guys have gotten to see too many games in Nippert Stadium on TV. In USL, we don't get featured nearly as much. But it's an amazing culture. Still learning. We're still not perfect. If you look at our supporters group, it looks awesome on TV with the Bailey sitting above the field. But there's a lot of things we need to improve on with capo stands, all these different things to really take us to the next level when we get into our new building in 2021. But it's really just been a fun ride, and I think, as I said, it's just starting right now with Major League Soccer.
Yeah. Well, look, don't feel bad about that. We're 20-something years in now, and we're this year starting to combine some of our supporter sections.
Right. We've got every seat. The line is every seat at Rio Tinto is a supporter section.
At least every row.
Right.
There's about 80.
Section 35, row H, till I die.
Yeah.
I don't.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's about 87 supporter sections at Rio Tinto Stadium in Salt Lake City.
And with the Galaxy and even with this is somewhat with Crew, they have the different supporters groups in all different parts of the stadiums. Is that how it's at Rio Tinto?
Yeah, more or less.
By section.
Well, here's the thing. We are not a member. We're not members of a supporters group.
Sure.
Either supporters group. And trust me, there is a lot to choose from.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
We're there. We will sing and chant and yell and fight with anyone. Right? Our job is, the way we see it is, we're there to support the club, the team, the players.
Sure.
And help the atmosphere. But I don't know. I've been to a lot of games in a lot of stadiums in a lot of countries, supporting a lot of teams. Well, only supporting a couple of teams.
Right.
Never been a member of a supporters group. I just never felt the need.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I work too much and I have a life, so
Yeah.
I cannot dedicate any additional time to, to do the necessary things. Like we do this, we do a Facebook page, a Twitter page. Apparently, we have an Instagram page. That's about it. Keep this stuff going. So let me ask you a question here, man.
Sure.
The supporter groups that you guys have over there, was that more of an organic startup, or was that club initiated or club supported or anything like that?
Oof, depends who you ask. So we have a lot of supporters groups as well. When you see, you hear the Bailey, which is our main section, kind of like the 3252 in LA. But we have really the supporters groups are the Pride, Dienenstadt.
By the way, before you keep going,
Sure.
What is it? Someone should count those people. I bet you there's either more or less than 3252.
Well, it's like the original. Well, you got the story right from the dude.
All right, sorry, man. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
You're good. So when they first started FC Cincinnati, we got called like the Plastic Club because we did just some of the worst marketing out there. We tried to be like I don't even freaking know. Like there was a little night mascot called Sir Cincy, and even the original logo with the winged lion had no significance. And so it was just some cringeworthy stuff. And a lot of those people actually got, I don't say fired, but asked to leave, I guess you could say. Things just started off terrible with FC Cincinnati before they even kicked the ball. So the supporters that were really interested, I think I was like number 7 that signed up for a season ticket. And yeah, a lot of us supporters basically are like, we need to, if we really want this club to be amazing versus just, dying, 2,000-3,000 fans and fading away in time, which has happened here in Cincinnati. We've had a USL club before. We've had pro teams, and they've all just died.
Happening in Dallas, and they're pretty good. So, yeah.
So what we did, a lot of these guys with the Pride, Dienenstadt, the Brigade, which was called the Bailey Bastards before MLS made them rebrand. But, all these different groups are like, let's get tight. Let's get our guys together, and let's form our own identity. So we really wanted to theme a lot of things after FC Cincinnati or the city. I mean, so Dienenstadt, which is the inner city, which is kind of how we envisioned our club. We wanted to be a downtown club. We didn't want to be, no offense, Bridgeview or whatever outside. So we really wanted to embrace the city feel. And so we had a lot of young millennials kind of fit into that category that wanted to join that supporters group. So they go down to Over the Rhine, which is really hip part of town, every weekend, watch EPL games there Saturdays and Sundays, and it's a great group. Then you have the Pride, which is a more diverse group, more just about, hey, let's support the club, let's travel everywhere. So all these different little unique facets, kind of whether it be a family supporters group or a college-based supporters group, they all just kind of crept up. But then we noticed there was all these little segments. And so as the supporters groups, the supporters leaders said, no, we really need to organize. So we have kind of I would say a supporters kind of council, whatever, that leads all the chants and everything in the stadium, called the Knights of the Bailey. But, it's the willingness to kind of put aside some of what we individually want for the sense of the greater good, which is, I think, what's made FC Cincinnati supporters special and what's made us so powerful, especially when you see the Bailey. Now, the Bailey on Friday might not be as strong. It's predicted to be like 50 degrees and storms all day, so it might not be our best attendance showing, but, we're still going to be out there cheering.
Summer in Salt Lake
City. You call it summer, yeah. Well, I think our week 2 game, whatever it was like 36 and raining the whole game, and we still had 25,000 fans there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, just all these things happen where we just try to put the greater good above, kind of our personal things, which I feel like is unique, especially in our society these days. But
yeah, all right, man. Well, that's good to hear. So overall, is there a soccer culture in Cincinnati?
I'd say so.
You got the Bengals. You got the
So there's been this huge surge in Cincinnati we were a dying city. You know, you hear all these flyover cities dying, just exodus. And fortunately, where they're building our stadium, which is the West End, we have a unique community right next to the West End. Really, they're honestly synergistic. They're right next to each other, called Over the Rhine. I mentioned it earlier. And a lot of these young millennials, young professionals.
Hold on a second. So over the Rhine.
Yeah, the Rhine River in Germany. We're a huge German population around here. Huge German population. I grew up on
the Rhine River in Germany.
Yeah?
Side note. Go ahead. Proceed.
So it's this hugely culturally vibrant area, and a lot of the soccer culture actually started there. You know, all these young professionals now moving in young, later 20s, early 30s, moving downtown, going to the bars every weekend. There's tons of bars just packed to the gills, as I said, with fans watching soccer, EPL soccer every weekend. But these kids, these young professionals, me included, I mean, I'm 31. We played soccer growing up, and it just kind of had that lucky, I guess, time frame where we wanted to still continue with soccer, yet we can't necessarily play at the high level anymore. And FC Cincinnati came on at this perfect time, and we have 50
dream,
yeah. So it's just it's been amazing to see. It might not be the classic soccer culture of. I don't know. I think it's specific to every community, but it's just kind of giving us the opportunity to really kind of do something we love or support something that we love, just sport wise. As I mentioned to you earlier, it doesn't take much to get a new soccer fan. If you like drinking beer, if you like to yell at people, referees are great targets. So it's just been kind of pretty cool to see how it works. Now we do have 50,000. I think we're one of the top 5 markets in the country for youth soccer, and that has helped. You know what? I'm sure you know this term, casual fan. You're not going to get anywhere by just getting 3,000 diehard fans. You have to have the casual soccer fan, and I think that's one demographic that we've been lucky to really have embrace the club.
So the Baker and I have a big disagreement all the time about whether the diehard fans. Whether a part of the diehard fans' responsibility is to recruit casual fans to the stadium. I'll let him tell you what he thinks.
I mean,
and I don't think it is.
I feel like we inevitably get onto this topic one way or another every other week.
Seems like it.
So obviously, as you mentioned, we're of Eastern European descent, and I feel like I never had a choice, right? It was like, hey, you're going to love soccer or you can go leave the family. It was bam, day one. And obviously RSL, the second they started, they have my money year in, year out. And I mean, short of starting a campaign to specifically exclude me, they got my money every year.
Right. Even that would be pushing.
Right. Even then I'm like, I'll still show up, guys.
Yeah. I'll watch on TV.
Right. It's and I feel like as part of that diehard, as part of the guy that volunteers, but like spends his free time doing things like this podcast and running these pages and enabling other supporters and fans. Part of that is being an ambassador on behalf of the club, and part of that includes, I don't want to say convincing people because it makes it sound like I'm a salesperson, but it's like, hey, this is how I spent my weekend. Here's why it was awesome. Oh yes, the whole drinking beer, the yelling at refs, the atmosphere, the party, the goal gong, whatever it may be.
Hanging with the friends.
It doesn't take much to convince somebody, and that's where that whole part of the diehards fan is to bring other fans.
And see, and I totally understand what you're saying and what you're saying, Brian. I think we'll let you speak in a second. Go ahead.
So everybody doesn't have to be that, and I think that's what's beautiful is if you don't want to commit. I'm not gonna judge you as less of a fan, and some places do, like Columbus. No offense, I was a Columbus Crew fan, but I was treated as a second-class citizen for 10 years following Columbus just because I lived in Cincinnati and I didn't go to every game. That's BS. To me, I don't think there's a place for that. There's 3,000 guys. Women, dude, there's more women in the Bailey. You'd be shocked, and I love it. It's great. We open everybody with open arms. But I think you need a crew, you need a group that does sing FC Cincinnati that, you know, you do need those people. So not everybody has to be there. If that's not your cup of tea, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this might be a new take a different perspective from from a city, from a person that really hasn't had a soccer club to embrace 24/7. You know, this is new. So I can't tell you how many people called us naive in our first couple years with some of our takes. So I apologize on that front, but
sounds like you're doing a really good job down there. Look, the Baker and I get into this every other week. All right, so I look, the way I see it is like if everyone shows up, my tickets go up. I don't want that either. All
right. No kidding. We're going to experience that very soon with that new stadium.
What you said, 2021?
2021, 26,000 seats, but I keep hearing that number creep up. So
how big is Cincinnati? What's the population of that area?
Roughly, man, I would say a little over 2 million. But we have Dayton about 45 minutes north of us, which is, probably another 750,000. Then you have Louisville and Lexington, which are probably both within 90-minute drives that are, another several million. So it's a large area.
Louisville has a club, don't they? Actually, I remember specifically losing to them not that long ago.
Yeah, Louisville's really good at winning D2 titles. So unfortunately, we learned that the hard way, but they're full of shit, so it's okay.
Yeah. All right, man, let me ask you a different question. So you're obviously a soccer fan, a supporter, a follower, and beyond that, you're one of those 1%ers amongst us who actually takes the time to continuously put out content. Most people don't,
right?
I think. Even the ones that want to. Everyone wants to until they realize how much time and money it's going to take to do it. So, question for you. When you think Salt Lake City or Real Salt Lake, it's just a general question we like to ask our counterparts. I think I've shared some of what I think about Cincy. It's mostly just, YouTube videos and whatever about it. What are your thoughts, if you have any, about RSL, Salt Lake City, the whole 9 yards?
So when I think of RSL, and please don't take offense to this, I think of...
Bro, I promise you, whatever you say, we've heard worse. So
well, you might not like this. I think of Sporting Kansas City and RSL as like the two clubs that have always done things the right way. And they're clubs that I would want my club to emulate. Now, attendance numbers.
Correct so far, so keep going.
So, no, yeah, I said the Sporting KC word, so I didn't know if that was the cuss word or not. So, no, RSL, back in the USL days of FC Cincinnati, which is the past 3 years. Seeing their Real Monarchs and seeing the way that you guys develop young talent, and then like that academy you guys have. And I think you guys in Sporting KC and New York Red Bulls are like the three clubs that are actually pushing U.S. soccer further along than anybody else. Maybe FC Dallas too, probably. But like FC Cincinnati they celebrate the attendance. But you really look in the next, 5 to 10 years, those markets I just mentioned are where I think the everybody's going to be playing catch up to you guys. So, everybody's going to remember those days back in with Freddie Adu and what's that stadium that you guys played? But right, yeah. But in reality, I mean, I just think of Kyle Beckerman and just the quality teams that you guys have had over the past several years, and I'm jealous. I mean, I've watched with the Jason Christ days, and you guys just fight for titles. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what I think of when I think of RSL.
We're jealous too. We wish it was back. Yeah, we wish.
Yeah, but you guys are at a transition phase. Ooh, I just kicked the camera. You guys are at a transition phase right now. Honestly, there was. I was thinking about talking about this earlier. There's a point realistically where there's a lot of smoke coming around when Beckerman was a quote unquote free agent or negotiating with RSL, that he might be able to sign with FC Cincinnati prior to last season. So prior to the 2018 USL season, we bring him in for a season USL, bring him back into Major League Soccer. Don't know how serious it was. There's a lot of smoke, but we were so excited about the opportunity to have a guy like Beckerman here because he would bring the culture that was at Real Salt Lake.
Right.
And that's very important to our, here in FC Cincinnati. We don't want the flashiest guys. We want the guys who are going to battle like the Darren Maddoxes of the world, that just battle and put heart out on the field. I'll tell you, you guys have heard about Fernando Adi here. And so,
I heard about that guy once.
DUI.
RSL killer.
That guy has been raked over the coals here by the fan base. I mean, legit. This guy, I mean, just with that DUI and the lack of production and everything else, we want the guys that are going to battle for you and think about the team first, think about the city. And that's kind of what I think about as RSL. So long story, but yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, you flatter us.
Flatter us, yeah.
Most people just remember the 13 run that ended the way it did, but we won't get into that.
Well, most people, number one response is, how many wives do you have?
Oh, yeah. Well, so Cincinnati is extremely Catholic, so I try to stay away from the religion thing a lot because if you live in the South and I say Catholic in the South, whoo, boy, you better watch out. So.
Hey, man, I love the South. I love all people. And also, I'll be honest with you, I want to visit Cincinnati the way you describe it.
It's a city, all the cliches and crap, ignite, unite, and all that BS that they push here, that marketing MLS stuff. But we are really a city on the rise, and I think that stadium that they're building, which is right in downtown, right in the heart of every single thing that's building in the city, and you're going to hear the stuff of gentrification and all that sad stuff, and that's part of the when you build in these inner city areas. But man, it's going to be friggin' incredible. I think I keep saying 26,000 is that's a daunting number that for us to fill it every week. But I think with the growth of this club and where that area is going to be, it's just going to be friggin' insane. It's going to be the model.
I'll be honest, Cincy has never been one of those. I travel a lot for work, and I've been to almost all major cities in the U.S. Cincy is one of the last ones I haven't visited yet. And honestly, I never thought about visiting until the club got there.
We didn't have much until about 5 years ago.
Right. So, we live in Salt Lake City, so we know what you're talking about. So, I'm totally looking forward to someday visiting. Not this weekend. I got plans.
Right.
But maybe someday soon.
Which is, I feel like, a pretty solid transition into
the actual game
while we're all here.
Yeah.
So this Friday, 5:30 Mountain Standard Time.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
That's a good way to just get out of the way early, though.
Well, I'm thinking
sounds like a lot of day drinking.
Yeah, just get out of the office as fast as possible.
So I'll be off by 3. Should we go to the Republican?
I mean, I don't think I'll be working, but we'll figure it out. That's neither here nor there. Yeah. So game 5:30 on Friday.
We're making away game plans here.
FC Cincinnati, just by the all day accounts, I haven't watched the game, but I did see highlights and read up quite a bit. Played LAFC just this last weekend in LA, 2-0 loss.
Yeah.
The feeling I got from FC Cincinnati fans, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, this is where I'd love your input, is overall people feel extremely positive in Cincinnati despite the 2-0 score.
So I hate to lose. I hate to lose preseason games. I hate to draw, but when you play the best team in Major League Soccer, in my view, they're the best team right now, and you give up a goal on a header, and then you give up a goal 2 minutes into stoppage time, and you had 3-4 shots hit the post, and you could have had a couple more goals. I felt we played very well. I felt our defense played well. Could have been much better. I think we weren't prepared for the speed of LAFC and just the quickness of their counter and to get the ball at the field. And we have a lot of guys who haven't played together. We've been decimated with injuries. So to lose, to not have our starting right back, our starting left back, to have Adi out, and then Lamar being hurt. I mean, even Maddox and Mane are hurt. So to have all those guys like that, it felt pretty positive, I guess you could say. We're still trying to form an identity on the field, and that's going to take more than 10 games or 8, 7 games, whatever it is right now. But so far, so good. I think what we kept saying on Cincinnati Soccer Talk is if we can make it through May at 9 points I think we like the end of May, 2 full months of the season with 9 points, or 2 May. Sorry, not at the end of May, 2 May. I thought we'd be pretty happy, and we're already almost there.
Right.
You know, with our crazy schedule, Portland, which doesn't look great, Atlanta, we're gonna play New York here soon. So overall, I think we've been doing pretty well. Oh, the Red Bull,
Right.
Oh, the good New York.
Right.
the good New York, yeah. So, we played Philly too, who's looking very, very good.
Philly's looking very good. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like looking at FC Cincinnati, and you mentioned something of developing an identity, and obviously there's going to, moving from the USL to the MLS in the first year, you're obviously going to have, it's a new league. You need a, no disrespect to the USL, but you need a higher caliber player.
Absolutely.
And Adi's got his own thing going on. He's the only DP player on the roster at the moment. Is that correct?
So it gets a little, it's a little more nuanced than that. So technically, we do have a second DP, young DP, with Alan Cruz out of Costa Rica, 23-year-old midfielder who's traditionally D mid. He's the young. He was going to be a TAM player. We brought him in, and I think we've kind of traded away some of our GAM TAM. Thank you, ma'am, a little bit. So he is now young DP, and then you have Kenny Safe. Or Saif, whatever you say, but they tell us to call him Safe. He right.
Use the back of your throat, bro.
Yeah.
Saif.
Oh God, dude.
Is it? No. Okay. Never mind.
So
my
he.
daughter's taking Hebrew right now, so everything's like back of the throat stuff,
I would have no idea where to start from there. So he is a TAM player right now, but he's on a 4-month loan. So his contract are now set at that TAM level, but would have to, if we do sign him long term, he would have to go to a DP status, I believe, from what I've been told. So we do have 3 players at that quality of level, but nobody that's like a Vela or a Rossi that you saw last week. So we're so even Adi, who makes $2 million a year, he's a fringe middle of the road forward, we'll call him right now. Overpaid, but we needed a name. So on that front, it's been, we don't have that top end guy, but we have a lot of really good players. When you look at Eric Alexander, who's a bench player, bench midfielder, but he was on the U.S. men's national team. Alan Cruz, Costa Rica national team. Greg Garza. You got guys out there like, Alvis Powell, who represents Darren Maddox, represents Jamaica. Caleb Stanko, former U.S. men's national team player. So there's a lot of guys, Kendall Waston, that are good quality players, but we just are lacking that, guy who can just absolutely take over a game, like a Piatti was back in the day, a Vela now. So that's kind of where we're hitting now. You said something about the USL player. I think we did bring up like 7 guys from our USL team. We've loaned several of them out, so I think that's a little bit less. But you talk about like a guy like Spencer Ritchie, who we brought up from our USL team to be the backup to Shemi Titan, who got injured, our goalkeeper. And Richie stood on his head. He's been absolutely incredible. So we have some higher profile or higher level USL guys. Justin Hoyt played at Arsenal. He played with us in USL past 2 seasons, and LAFC could not get by him this weekend. So there's some pretty good players. Of course, then we also have a couple other players that probably aren't to the MLS level, but those are guys who'll probably feature in the U.S. Open Cup more than anything.
Right. That makes sense. So you mentioned Maddox, and as a semi-neutral third party at this, looking from the outside, I'm looking at the roster, I'm looking at the guys available, and the goal scoring responsibilities kind of seem to have fallen to him.
Well, so we've had 7 goal scorers, and nobody scored more than 1.
Okay,
or 8 goal scorers, whatever it is.
That makes sense. I think I remember reading a quote or a stat that, and I think this is like the talking point since the LAFC game, given all the chances generated, that FCC hasn't scored from the run of play since like the end of March. Does that concern you at all, or is it just kind of like one of those? This is a rut. We're generating chances. Someone's bound to get one.
Yeah, so I actually got into it a little bit with a couple bloggers, USL bloggers actually, about that stat. So yeah, it is a little bit concerning, but when you talk about Darren Maddox, I said this guy's the king of the woodwork. He loves bouncing balls off the posts. So him, Lamar, Safe, all have had really good chances in the run play that just haven't gone in yet. And I think they'll find their shooters' boots. I said they've all been injured. You know, Maddox, Mane, um, Lamar, all these guys have had to miss a little bit of time. Safe, this guy has played like one competitive match in a year. Now he's finally got 3 starts under his belt here at FC Cincinnati. So I think those things will come, but we still are missing that number 10, that guy that can just, take a game on his shoulders. And that's where we were nervous coming into the season. We just don't have that top end guy that when everybody else isn't producing that you can lean on. So we're going to have stretches, I think, that where we don't score many goals, but then you're going to have stretches like where we played New England and Portland and we put a couple goals up. So, or like 3 goals up in those games. So I think FC Cincinnati will be the definition of streaky when it comes to the end of the year.
That makes sense to me.
That makes perfect sense, actually. Let me ask you this question. There are clubs whose attendance and people's kind of passion is heavily reliant on their success. Thinking LA Galaxy, Colorado Rapids.
Right.
Then there are clubs who, it doesn't matter how good or bad they are, attendance is going to suck. Like Dallas.
Sure.
Or Houston. I mean, Houston could be worse than they were a few years ago. And then the year after, they were really good. And attendance still sucks. Right? Then you have clubs like, LAFC and y'all, obviously. And, some of these newer clubs. It's way too early to measure. Right?
Absolutely.
Including, the Red Bulls. It seems like no matter how good they are in a regular season game, they don't get big attendances.
I think something like 15 is their average.
And then you have Columbus, who, unless they're in danger of actually losing the team, don't get out there, right? So here's the thing. In Salt Lake, we have good days, good matches, bad matches. On a really bad day, attendance is what, 17,000?
Like 15.
That's a really bad day.
Well, Sundays in Utah.
All right, if there's a Sunday afternoon game in Utah and we suck that year, yes, it's 15. Absolutely.
That's a great game in Columbus.
Oh, that's a ridiculous game in Columbus. Our capacity is like 19 something, right? So it's not below capacity. But then there's people like me. And I'm going to the game not for the results. It doesn't really matter to me if you're doing well. I mean, it matters to me, but if you're doing bad or good, it's secondary. It matters, but it's secondary. I want to go relax and support my team. What's the feeling in Cincinnati? Because I do believe, I understand that Atlanta, who has absolutely prided themselves last year on attendance numbers, is dropping.
I mean, it's still like ridiculously high, but yeah.
Well, but it's Atlanta. It's like 90 million people in that city.
Right.
Sure.
And they haven't been doing well this year. What's your feeling about Cincinnati? Do you think Cincinnati FC has to keep up good results or start getting and maintaining good results to maintain the kind of atmosphere that we have all come to know about and become accustomed to from you people?
So
you people. Or do you think that's secondary? Is it a culture thing?
So FC Cincinnati, we'll say Cincinnati in general, whether it's Reds, Bengals, UC, Xavier. It's a lot about the effort, the blue collar mentality, I guess, as you could say. If the FO, if the ownership group, if the players on the field are trying and you see the passion, you see them fighting for the crest, I think that means a lot to people in this part of the country. Right. You see it with the Reds. They still, they're never going to be the top end team, but they battle. You got good players there. people still show up. The Bengals, I mean, you see them getting arrested every week, and people stop going to games. So I think as long as they act like good stewards in the community, they still show up, they still engage. And that's the thing with FC Cincinnati. The club itself has done really well. The players have engaged really well in the community, going to inner city events, going to youth soccer tournaments, those things like that. Even with the Major League Soccer players, that's been kind of special. So as long as they keep doing those things and hitting the pavement and really reaching out and not expecting people to show up just because they are the MLS club, I think they'll be fine. So I think that's where we'll go, because we had a really rough year in season 2 because we lost Coach Harks. Even though we had that great U.S. Open Cup run, we still came in like 6th or 7th in the USL and had some just like 4-0 drubbings. Like we lost 5-0 to Louisville, we lost 4-0 to Ottawa, and the attendance probably wasn't as hot as it could have been, but it was still halfway decent. So we'll see how it goes. I think, as I said, it's way too early. The first year, the newness of FC Cincinnati carried us. The second year, the U.S. Open Cup gave us a great run. The third year, we were the best team in USL. Great run. Season 4, Major League Soccer season. So we'll see what happens next year. I think will be more the telling year than season 6 as well, that new stadium.
Definitely. So, you kind of mentioned some of the changes. Obviously, the opponents in the league and stuff have changed. Has there been like a noticeable change in the atmosphere at the stadium transitioning from USL to MLS, or is it just from a butts and seats kind of standpoint, it's steady as she goes?
The number one thing, holy shit, these players are a lot better. It's honestly, it really is. I think some of the things have just as a fan's perspective now, it's like, okay, we're seeing some pretty cool people come into the stadium. We're seeing, Marco Fabian do some amazing things. And I think that's going to kind of take us a little bit more kind of with that New Jersey Nets, Brooklyn Nets mentality, is where, you come to see the other players too. And I think for the beginning of FC Cincinnati, I think that's going to be something that we can check out that'll help. But just kind of more grow. I think when the knowledge base of the fans gets a little bit better, I think you'll hopefully see some growth with that in the community to get people more involved as well. So we're still a very young soccer knowledge fan base. That's why people flock to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We had people that actually were around the game, coached the game, been a part of the game as supporters of different clubs in different areas. I think it'll get better. In terms of just the supporters, I think the Bailey, they just need to know we have to be on our game. We have to be, leading the chants. We can't take, 5 minutes off in the games. I think that expectation now is kind of on those supporters.
Awesome. Yeah.
But we still like to drink a ton of beer. I mean,
man, Cincy sounds like the next place. Well, we got KC. I think we're going to the KC, Denver this year. Gotta be KC after that. Cincy after that. Question for you. Let's get soccer specific for just a second. What's your biggest worry about this game this weekend? Before we ask you for your prediction, because I have one other question after that has nothing to do with soccer. So, what's your biggest worry? I think we know what our biggest worries would be this weekend. What's your biggest worry?
If you guys can mimic what LAFC can do, but finish. If you guys can get us turned, especially our midfield turned, we still have Victor Ulloa, Leo Bertoni, Caleb Stenko, that trifecta. Two of them play at a time, but they're still trying to figure out that partnership. So if you can get those guys tracking backwards and get, past that first line of defense and make our defenders, who are traditionally more offensive oriented, our Deplan, he likes to bomb up the field. Garza likes to bomb up the field. Waston and Hagelin aren't known for being the best defenders, but they win every ball in the air. So if you guys can kind of turn us in that LAFC model, get us running back towards our goal, I think there's a chance that you guys could put a good number up on us, kind of like what Seattle did in that first game. They just came at us, made us turn, but they finished. Whereas LAFC, they probably could have. I think last week could have been a 5-0 loss or a 0-0 draw. I mean, that's literally how, if you don't finish, those chances are going to be 0-0. But if you are clinical, we're going to concede chances. That's clearly evident in our first several games.
Yeah. For the record, I like what LAFC is doing this year. But let's not forget, we kicked them out of the playoffs last year.
Yeah, you did. That was a big talking point this whole past week. We're like, we keep saying is we felt like we belonged at least on that field, and if we can at least see those little small victories, we can pull what RSL did to LAFC last year and knock those big boys off. If they don't have their best night, we play well. I mean,
Right.
we the thing that surprised me the most with FC Cincinnati this year is on the pitch we've looked like we belonged, and I didn't think we were going to be anywhere close to that this year.
For sure. I look at FC Cincinnati, and to me, it out of all of the clubs in the Eastern Conference, I think they're the most RSL like. They're clearly not bad. They're better than their record shows, and moments of individual brilliance also cover up for like some systematic mistakes. I think, if we're going to be totally honest.
Yeah, we've said that moments of individual brilliance. Holy crap. That's been our claim to fame for the past year. Even in USL last year, we weren't the most organized team. We still aren't the most organized team. We're not the best coach team, but we still have those players that can just shock you.
Right. And I think you were going to get to this. That is my biggest fear. It's we are not lucky enough not to have, Maddox just have this crazy. I mean, he had a beauty of a curler that I think should have been a goal against LAFC that got saved. Against, love me some Romano, against an aging Romano, that's a goal. So that's my fear.
I still can't believe Nick Romano gets to free. I can't believe he's coming to Cincinnati. That's still as a guy who's watched USL. I'm in awe of Romano, Beckerman, even like guys like Luke Mulholland. I just love watching those guys, and it's just Luke's not there anymore, right?
We'll see Luke this weekend. We haven't seen him this year yet.
Yeah,
it's probably Romano's only visit there.
Yeah. Yep.
Last year. Yeah, I'm not. So there's obviously we have the way I see it from a fear perspective. RSL is one of those teams when it's on. It doesn't matter when we're playing. Problem is we're like on twice every 10 games, right? So that's the problem. Nick Romando, he has not in the last few games had a Nick Romando moment. Not this whole year. I'm saying this the last few games. He had a couple of Nick Romando moments against LAFC. He had a couple of Nick Romando moments against Vancouver at home. He hasn't had any Nick Romando moments last couple of games. Because Nick Romando is usually good for a sure goal that he prevents.
Right.
So it's kind of like scoring a goal. He just hasn't had too many of those lately yet. My biggest worry is that we do not start Sam Johnson on our side. I think we start the exact same team we started last game, including Sam Johnson.
Well, minus Everton.
Which is a huge loss.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of... See, we did some math earlier this year.
It's always dangerous.
And we figured if we win all of our home games and lose all the away games, we're in the playoffs. It was solid logic. And it was good until we lost the game at home. So now we have to make up 3 points on the road somewhere, right? Or tie 3 away games. We have tied 1 away game so far, I think. Houston away. So I think we need to get 3 points somewhere soon in order just to start breaking even on the year. And I think let's get into projections. I'm thinking Cincinnati. RSL Cincinnati is a 2-0 RSL win. What are you thinking, Baker, before we throw it over to Brian?
I think that, so we haven't heard on Everton, and that midfield I think is going to look real susceptible, just straight down the middle.
Is Adi playing?
No, but
he's not playing.
Yeah, he's
in jail.
Not in jail.
He's back in Cincinnati, but the club doesn't even know what's going on.
Right. Yeah. He's not allowed to participate.
Yeah. Right? Not even allowed to practice.
DUI, right?
There's a good old-fashioned DUI. They call it something else in Cincinnati, though. What's the DUI in Cincinnati?
O something. I don't know. OVI.
O something IO. Yeah, they have a good
OVI. Yeah, something like that.
He was driving drunk.
Oh yeah, he was going. So this dude was going 103. I don't know, 105 essentially, in a 65.
What was he driving?
And this was like 30 minutes outside of, like, it literally was like 4 minutes from my house. Like I live out here in the burbs. I live out here in the sticks, and he somehow was all the way out here. So I don't understand it.
Huh. Well, that'll happen. I'm gonna say 1-1. 1-1.
1-1. You always do that. All right. Brian, what you thinking on the projections for this weekend? Well, this Friday evening. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Friday, right? Yeah. On this Easter weekend,
Right.
I can't believe that.
Who's gonna lay an egg, Brian?
What?
Who's gonna lay an egg?
Oh shoot, man! I'll tell you what. So my brother has been joked. They call him the wet blanket because so my twin brother is also a co-host on our show. He has picked losses every game for FC Cincinnati. And I actually think this is one of those games where I think we will be competitive. I think we will go probably toe-to-toe the whole game. But as you've seen with FC Cincinnati so far, is we lose a little steam over the last 20 minutes. And I think the depth on RSL is significantly greater than FC Cincinnati, and they will be able to probably knock out a goal somewhere. So I'm predicting 2-1 to RSL, just because I think we're not to that. What's Sporting called? Sporting fit mentality. I don't think we're anywhere near there yet. I think we got a lot of banged up bodies, and we just don't have the depth. I mean, as a winger, we have to bring on Eric Alexander, who I praised earlier, but he's a great D-mid. He's not a great midfielder. Then we play a 4-2-3-1, and we have one true winger in Roland Lamar. So, so it could be a little rough, but if there's a point where you start seeing Lamar, Mane, and Safe on the field together, and they're linking passes, and they're able to play the ball back to front versus having to just long ball it up to Maddox, I think that's, as an RSL fan, when you should start being worried about the result. So if those guys can link passes, that's when we're really deadly.
Right. And Lamar was so I think before LAFC it was SKC. He picked up a bit of a bump, right? He only went 30 minutes in the LAFC game. Yeah,
like Maddox, or sorry, Mane wasn't even supposed to play last week, and he got put on. I think the Philly game is when he also got put on for Lamar due to his knock. So yeah, I mean this is a really banged up squad.
Right.
We got plenty of guys who hopefully will come back, but we had 3 starters not even travel last week.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just need 3 points.
Yeah, we're definitely not primo FC Cincinnati, but but you have a lot of guys who want to play hard and perform.
Totally different question. I've just decided I made an executive decision in my life as I'm gonna go to Cincinnati and watch a game. I'm not sure when. What's the one thing we have to do while in Cincinnati? I think every city has a thing you have to do. Kansas City is supposed to be famous for the barbecue. St. Louis is barbecue. Birmingham's barbecue. It's just a lot of bar. I think I just like food a lot.
Right.
So I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna cheat on this. I'm gonna give you 2.
Yeah.
The first is what everybody's gonna know. I'm sure you've heard of Skyline chili. If you haven't, it's like a Greek style chili, a very watery chili. You have spaghetti. You have this chili that you put on top of the spaghetti. No beans. It's just the meat and the grease, and then you have a mound of shredded medium cheddar cheese, and that's kind of the Cincinnati thing to do. They call it a 3-way.
Hold on. Spaghetti, chili, cheese.
Mountain of cheese.
Sounds like something we can get behind.
Totally get with that.
It's a gut buster. It's a gut buster. So that's actually when we have players on our show, or really any guest on our show, we ask them, have you ever been to Skyline? And most of them either go hell no or that's a cheat day. That's a cheat day. Nick Hagelin, he's like, yeah, on a Sunday after a win, I'll eat it. But So that's the one thing you need to do, is what we always say. The second is, if you're a really good soccer guy and you want to have just an incredible day filled with soccer, come in early, come in on a Friday for a Saturday game, wake up, crack it on 7 a.m., whatever, go down to Ryan House in OTR, and you'll meet, 50, 60, 100 of your best friends, day drink, have a great time down there. Go check out a couple of the restaurants down there in OTR. Watch the soccer there at Ryan House, and then you can either walk or Uber or Lyft up to Nippert Stadium and watch the game, or go pregame at those bars up there. So I think you can have just an amazing soccer experience by going to, honestly, one of the best soccer bars in the country in Cincinnati and Ryan House.
There it is, RSL Nation.
I'm sold.
If that's not an invitation, I don't know what is.
That's got my name written all over it. Do we play him after this weekend?
No, I think it's that. This is the one over there. And you guys come to Salt Lake later in the year. Am I making that up?
I think we come next year. So because that, like, in the West we do every other year, I think, is what we were told. Like, yeah. So you guys might be in a position to actually open up our stadium. So that could be kind of cool.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Anything else from you?
I think that's it.
Brian, any other questions, comments, or mentions in any way, shape, or form?
I appreciate you guys coming on down here. I just, if you do make it down our way, just let us know, man. We like swagging up people when they come down here. We had a couple German pilots from DHL in here, and we load them up with beers and scarves. And they'd never been to FC Cincinnati, but damn, they're gonna know FC Cincinnati the rest of their life. So we're just a very welcoming club, and that's just kind of what we want to be remembered as. We're kind Midwestern folks down here in Cincinnati. But it's just been a ride. And I think we're just starting out. As I said, I think we're gonna have hiccups. It was what you guys said. I think there's going to be a time where you see FC Cincinnati attendance go down a little bit. I think that's natural, but I think overall, with all the effort and work our supporters have put in, like, if you've seen my name, I used to be writing a story every other day or every other day or every day or every other day on CST, and you just sometimes get burned out. You guys know how it is with being a dedicated supporter, but I think we'll get to one of those points where you're going to see and think of FC Cincinnati just kind of in the same light as you do with RSL and Sporting KC as some of the best supported clubs in North America.
And remind the folks one more time where they can find you guys.
Sure, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. We're on, you said, the website, but you also can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, iTunes. We're pretty much on every podcast platform. We have 2 shows: a Monday night show, which comes out Tuesday morning on iTunes. We do that live on Facebook, YouTube, and then we have our March to Match Day, which focuses solely on the upcoming match, which I believe that drops on Thursdays, I think. So, yeah, that used to be my show.
All I need Brian to do is stop referencing SKC as a good supporter.
Dude, that's what I said. Yeah, I said you're gonna be pissed at me at some point here with them. We just played them, so they're friend of mine, I guess you could say.
They're good people.
They had a 16-year-old score against us. It's BS.
Yeah, that kid is the truth.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be in touch. All right. We love finding like-minded individuals who will talk soccer. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. RSL Nation, if you're still with us,
They definitely are.
well, if they heard this, they obviously are. Brian, hang on for just 1 second. RSL Nation, been a pleasure. Hope you learned something. And if you didn't, well, you should ask some questions when you have the opportunity. Good night.